This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded April 7th, 2015. Episode 244. Exponible Electronics Ennui.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Don't get me started.
Dave is pissed. He's pissed.
I am strongly resisting the urge to drop F-bombs everywhere at the moment.
Right, which we usually try not to, but they happen here and there.
Yeah.
Usually I flick on the what is it called, the extreme content or something, not extreme content. No, what's it called? Whatever, adult content.
Oh, the adult content filter switch on
iTunes.
Right, Google. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Dave lost some video footage this morning, which is disruptive, quite disruptive.
Unbelievable.
That sucks. Yeah.
And I did it yesterday. I did exactly the same thing yesterday too.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing,
Well,
but it didn't piss me off as much yesterday because it's the problem with the SD card. I've talked about this before, SD card in the camera, and I lost a bit of footage yesterday on the same teardown that I'm trying to do, and it didn't piss me off nearly much because I thought, it happened. I didn't lose a huge amount, so I went and reshot it. It was, 20, 30 minutes worth. It wasn't a huge deal. So I just, sucked it up and went on, and then came back this morning and whacked in my SD card and pressed record, and a couple of hours later I went to put in the SD card in the computer. No, nothing's there.
Yep.
It just, those 30 clips I just shot, just gone,
Yeah. I was having that with the KiCad was crashing every time I did I think it was just the one build that I had, because I use all these advanced leading edge builds now. And it was crashing every time I did a copper pour,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I mentioned on the show before.
Yeah, you mentioned on Twitter, I think.
Oh, on Twitter, yeah. So I mean, but it was to the point where you get far enough along in a design where you're kind of on autopilot. The same thing you're doing with your camera, right? It's just you're on autopillet, you're ready to go,
totally.
And then you forget to hit save, and you hit fill, and you're like, oh no, and it's gone.
And right. I know.
And unless you do regular backups, right? I mean, if I did an hourly git commit or even just an hourly save or an autosave, I don't know if the new versions have autosave, but just unless you get in that habit, which is basically a way of acknowledging that yes, this is very broken, but I'm using it anyways.
Right.
Unless you have that in your workflow, then you're gonna keep stubbing your toe in that exact same spot and swearing up a storm. I mean, it's terrible. So yeah.
I should give some background on this for those who aren't aware of it, right? My camera, right, uses all my cameras use SD cards, right? And of course I record the footage on the SD cards. I sneak and edit, I take it out, I carry it over to the computer, whack it in, and I copy the files from the SD card. Which is fine and dandy, right? You can copy the files, you can put it in the PC, copy the files, and then go put the, do some editing. Because sometimes I like to do that. I like to shoot half the video, and then I might go to lunch and I go, I'll just edit that video to see where I'm at, So I'll edit the footage I've got now. So I copy over the footage I've got, edit it, and then, after I've done that, I might, I'll go back and take the SD card back, whack it in the camera, and continue the second half of the video, right? And this is normal. This is a normal part of my workflow. The problem is that if you touch any of the files on the SD card, if you delete a video file, if you rename them, if you copy another file on there, if you do anything at all, touch that card, write to it in any way, shape or form, which is normal for Windows and everything else, right? The camera can screw up, not always, but it can completely screw up and refuse to record video to that SD card, even though it's telling you, right? So I can go do a whole day's shoot, and the little red record button comes up, the timer comes up, yep, I'm recording to the SD card. It appears all normal, and you get back and it hasn't recorded anything since you last touched those files.
Right. Just like
And
a backup isn't really a backup until you try and back it up. Right?
until you try,
Until you try and restore it.
and
Yeah.
and of course my camera has the dual SD card recording facility. But do I do it? You know, so it actually records a backup to the SD card. But do I do it? You know, no, because I'm probably stupid, and because it's an extra step that you shouldn't need. Right, you shouldn't need to do
Right,
it.
it's accepting that you have a broken workflow. Again,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah,
that's the same thing.
exactly. I know, and it's extra work, so I've got to there find 2 SD cards and format them, because I've got SD cards coming out my backside with all sorts of weird footage on that I haven't done yet or whatever, and so I've got to find SD cards and whack them in there and clean, erase the files, make sure I've actually copied them, make sure I don't need them anymore, erase them, put them back in, blah blah. And that's hard enough for 1 card, let alone 2. And it's just, when you do it every day, it's just an extra step you don't want to have to do. Anyway, for those who think it is just, oh, well, don't use a Canon video camera. Well, it happens on my Sony too. So, it is, right, it's happened on it's happened on my 2 Canon cameras that I've had, the HFG10 and the HFG30. It's also happened on my Sony Nex VG30. So for those who think it's just a Canon issue, it's not. So, yeah. And for those who mention it, because everyone does, just use a file recovery tool. No, it doesn't work. And yes, I've tried every freaking one on the market. So it's not that. It just, it's unbelievable. It's just a pain in the ass problem. And... yeah.
I hate to,
but the worst thing is
to tell you how much better I am than you, but I just record straight from my computer now.
Yeah, I know. You've got this weird, fantastic workflow which produces, videos on the fly with no editing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, so people don't... I started doing it for contextual electronics. I just started... What the heck is going on? Sorry, something just started singing at me on my computer. What the heck is going on here?
Yeah, I hate that when you have like 20 million tabs open and then something starts auto-playing. Some video starts auto-playing somewhere.
That was Phil Collins started playing at me, apparently.
Right. In the end of
Because
the night.
why not? Yeah.
Okay.
I can feel it coming in the air.
Drum solo.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I started doing hardware stuff for like camera switching. There's this program called XSplit, and it's fantastic.
I've used it.
I'll post a link to it, but yeah, it's awesome.
Well,
because
there's
it's hard,
nothing,
like when you're trying to.
Great about it. It's just that it has a pause button during recording.
Button,
There's lots of programs that do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like
you know this, and other people know this from watching your videos and stuff. It's hard to kind of, when you're looking over, to replicate that looking over someone's shoulder, experience, which is kind of what contextual electronics is.
Right.
That's kind of tough to do, especially in a quick amount of time. So, video, it sucks, but it's kind of it's still the best. It's still the best medium we have, right? Unless someone can inhabit my consciousness, and believe me, folks, you don't want that.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
and for those who say, well, why don't I just do that and have live switching and blah blah blah, all that sort of jazz? It's just totally not suited to the styles of video that I do. And you may not notice it until you do them, until you compare 2 of the same videos shot with the 2 different techniques side by side, and you'll notice that the effort I go to produce my video, every shot is framed, or almost every shot is framed properly, right? I set the camera, I change lenses for every shot if I've got to do macro things, and I frame in the damn thing. I might set manual focus, manual exposure, or all sorts of jazz before I hit that record button. That's why I end up, some videos can have up to 200 clips, because I'm always doing that. But it produces a much better, tightly flowing video at the end of
that rambles on for an hour.
Then just, mine ramble on for an hour, but there's no wasted...
But imagine how good it looks.
Imagine how good it looks, and framing. And you don't notice that until you see the 2 videos, until you did a, A/B comparison kind of thing.
So me and Dave will do a video off at some point in the future.
So it works great for the style of video you do. And if I was doing a live show, I would have the same setup. In fact, I want to set up my live rig again. And that's the plan. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have all the multiple camera angles and we can flick through them and all that sort of stuff. But then again, it's different once again if you've got a live audience watching at the same time.
True.
See?
True.
Because then there's no point using the pause button.
Key.
Right?
No pause
yeah,
key.
exactly. So, So, Yep. So you need the right tool for the job. You need the right setup for the job. The right optimized setup can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Yep. Man. So I was thinking about topics for the show today, and I was playing my piano. I have a new piano. I don't know if I mentioned on the show.
But it's just, you sold all your other ones, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. And this is actually, so it's like a sampling piano, right? And don't worry, folks, I'm getting to the point here. But what it was is like, so I had like all these analog pianos and all these beautiful pieces of old gear and stuff like that. And I'm playing this new piano, and like everything about it is amazing, right? It's a sampling piano, so it's not like, like purists out there will be like, oh, well, you can't do this and that and this and that. But like honestly, it has everything. Like it don't need anything else, right? And it kind of felt like,
yeah, but didn't they have these like 20 years ago? These sampling keyboards with everything.
They did, yeah. They did, and like.
So what's different with a modern one?
Just like the depth of like how much they consider in the actual sampling. So they like sample the sound of you releasing the foot pedal, like.
Right.
So it's just kind of like taken to another level, and it's not like the best thing ever, but it's just for me, it's just this next echelon, and we're kind of seeing the same. And it's also got like it models all of the classic sounds that I like. Okay, but the idea is that it's consolidate all of these old. I kind of think about it in terms of like test equipment, right? There's like like looking at like like this MDO 3000 that you and I both have and stuff like that, and other gear that's out there. Like everybody's just consolidating, right? It's just like you just keep pouring more and more features into something, and what that ends up with is it's just there's not as much. Interesting individual problems like there you could still go back and play with the the old analog piano, and you can optimize it and you can rework it and you can try new things on there, but I just thought it was interesting from a like trying like it kind of makes the landscape more boring, and that's what I've been struggling with lately. Like some of it's just like I'm kind of bored with electronics, and people I know I probably shouldn't say that on a show about electronics, but it kind of feels like that with like
I understand, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like everything's getting so consolidated that it's like like I find interesting problems here and there to work on, and I think that's a lot of stuff I'm doing in contextual electronics, but like it just feels like everything is in everything. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, well, here's this new micro, but it also has Bluetooth and it also has a power, power stuff integrated. And it's just like, well, what the hell, man? Like where's the and to be fair, the fun part is in, the coding and the implementation of it, but like that's not as fun for me. You know what I mean? Like that's not the hard part for that is
see, for me the fun part is still the product design, like it's not in the electronics as such, I can get a micro, I can whack it on, I can choose an ADC and whack it on, I can choose some op amps and whack them on, I can do a power supply and whack it on, but I've done all that stuff before. It's not that exciting. Whereas
right, but it feels like these days there's such a push towards like smaller and lower cost and lower power, so it's not like there's 15 subcircuits anymore either. It's like micro, like I got a teensy, right? So I got a teensy, the 3.1, and this thing is, it's gorgeous. This little board is probably like an inch by a half inch.
Yeah.
And it's got a M Cortex something from Freescale, and power and a little a USB serial. It's just like it's a similar to Arduino type style. But I mean, like, what else do you need? These days, like there's like this thing does a crap ton. Like it has audio libraries on it, and it does all these other like it's just like it's crazy, and it's, I know that I should be amazed by it, but I feel dismayed by it. Like it's just I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Maybe other people feel this, maybe they don't. Like, but
we're electronics designers, right? That's what we've always done in industry, right? And it's just blasé to us, I guess. It's just, yawn-worthy.
I guess. I mean, like, well, and I've said it before too, and it's like obviously it contrasts with my other job, which is like building a site for shopping for parts, right? And I feel like
Right.
that is a big part of our, as electronics designers these days, it's about who's good at shopping and finding good parts for an application. You know, it's always been about that, but now it's so much more about that, you know, finding the right parts, finding the parts that you can actually buy and, you know, actually use and you know, like get on time, stuff like, you know, stuff that we've talked about on the
Right.
show before. But also like that takes so much fun out of it, you know. It's not like it's not just transistor design or, you know, like
Yeah.
like I don't know. And it's not like we can't do that either, right? I mean, like, so like that is still part of the, I think that might also be part of the problem of where I am personally in my career. Like, not that I've done so much, but just that
He's going through a mid-career crisis, folks.
I think I might be. Yeah, no, it's just like, it's like looking back, right? So like all this stuff with the art of electronics coming out again, right? And it's
Right.
just like, going through it again. I've done that, you know, I've gone through so much of it, and like I know
Right.
there's new stuff, but like, and I get that I should do that, and I'll find stuff from doing a lot of that stuff, and like even just, okay, again, from the piano thing, I was playing my piano thinking about it, and like so much of learning electronics in the first place is about, you know, just kind of not even gritting your teeth, but just not saying I need to invent something new and fantastic, but just to do what other people have done, right? Just to learn the methods and to see the patterns, you know, like me playing songs that other people have written, right, on my
Right.
piano. Like that's the same thing in electronics, where you go through and you're designing stuff, maybe you're using app notes, stuff like that. Like all of these things are still important and they're still interesting to me, and there's still challenges with them. And yet, I don't know. Like I think you're right. I think it's just the mid career doldrums. I think also because I don't have like a, you know, like I'm not working towards like a deadline product.
Exactly.
At a
That's
job.
the big difference. That's the big difference.
Yeah.
And people say, yeah, why can't I develop products like I did in industry? Well, because there's no one whipping my ass. You know, there's no deadline. I'm not being paid to do it, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Oh, but you are. You get video. No, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Well, yeah, and I think, I mean, like, and I think that a lot of the projects I've been doing a lot of projects, right? So I got 2 boards in on contextual electronics since it's started back up, but
Yep.
you know, like there's still that. I want something. I feel like there's something around the corner. You know, like there's something I should be doing. There's some kind of technology I should be like all this crap about batteries too. Like I feel like there's something I should do there, but
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Like
I know.
I'm telling myself, oh, you should be Tony Stark, but I am not Tony Stark. You know what I mean? Like,
You think?
I am not that person. No, but I mean, like, there's all these problems that are out there that we should be solving and we should be working on, and I just don't know where to go next. You know, that's kind of
Right. Yep.
I have a lot of things to do. Don't get me wrong, but I just
And
I don't know.
that's also the problem. You know, how do you commit to something? You know,
Right. That's a good question. I guess you
I don't
just
have
start.
the answer, so you're right.
No,
You just
damn.
start and then finish with your half-ass finished project, and then you move on to the next
Well,
one when you
Yeah.
know.
I think that actually, no, that does bring up a good point. Like having a economic goal, right? I mean, having that like that hunger based on actual, you know, like if your economic future is dependent on it, right? You'll do interesting stuff in that case. I don't know though, man. I don't know.
The hunger's gone, huh?
It's not gone. Well, that's the thing. Like I'm building projects. I'm interested in this stuff. I have people that I'm working with and teaching, and like all of this stuff. It's still there, but I don't know. Maybe, but it just what it is a feeling about industry these days. You know, like about specifically like this hardware ecosystem, like all of the changes to the hardware side of things too. Like everybody's pushing, well, you got to get a app out there and it has to talk to a piece of hardware, and it's just like, I don't care. Like, you know, like
Exactly.
so many of these things, like I read about these, like, oh God, the demo day startups. Did we talk about that last week or 2 weeks ago or?
No demo day startup. No.
So Y Combinator,
so.
right? That's this startup accelerator thingy dingy, and like, so they you know they have a demo day where all these investors show up and
No, right.
and,
Okay.
and
It's
like
a pitch day, is it?
It's
Kinda
a pitch
like
day, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, like all of these, just reading the list of all these startups, and it's just like not all of them are hardware, obviously, but like so many of them are just like, what? Why? Like,
I know.
And it's not like that hasn't happened in the past too. Like there's always been, social network for turtles and yada yada, like stupid shit like that. But like, I don't know. I
You shatterer of dreams, you.
I think I'm just getting. I think I'm an old codger, Dave.
I know.
I think
welcome to the club.
5 years in, you've gotten to me.
I've gotten you. Yep, got him.
I'm toast.
Yes.
I
know.
And
Well,
like all this, like Internet of Things, and everything has Wi-Fi, and everything has Wi-Fi, and everything has Bluetooth, and I don't know how to do any of it. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. I'm developing a product at the moment, and it's going to have Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And I can't say what it is, but
Oh yeah. And everybody has secrets. What the hell?
There are people who know what it is. My supporters know what it is.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not public yet, because if it goes public, like there'll be so many people with so many opinions. It'll be the it'll be the micro supply all over again. But
Right.
10 times worse.
I can't fault you
Do
for
it this way. It's got to have this feature.
leaving
It's
that
got to
out.
have that. What
Yeah,
the hell are you
right.
doing that for? Oh, it's got to meet this price point. It's got to meet that price point. Anyway, it's going to be like a year-long project. And it's not just me. I'm partnering up with a professional manufacturing company
Cool.
doing this thing. So, yeah, it's early stages yet. I've just gotten my concept prototype. They did a proposal for me, so I sort of gave them some,
like early quotes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it isn't even a quote yet. It's just like, here's what it's going to look like. Here's how it's going to work. This is the features it's going to have. Blah blah blah. So
That's what you were saying that, or they were saying that.
no, they're saying that. That was part of their proposal. I went to them and say, hey, I want one of these things, and let's work
okay.
together to design and build one of these things for me. And
Cool. So you're
they
kind of
went-
like the investor/management guy now versus just the straight design guy.
Oh yeah, I won't be I won't be designing this thing because this company specializes in making this product, right? I'll be having a hand in it, right?
Right.
But it's not like I'm going to be laying out the ball.
No. This is
it's
interesting.
like-
Dave, the manager. I like this. This is like Dave.
Yeah.
Now Dave has all the rants from the other side. Obviously, Dave has an employee now, and he also has a product under his care now. I don't know. You've got profit and loss statements now. Dave Corp, the machine is in full swing.
That's it. So yeah,
that's exciting.
And this could cost a serious amount of money. Like
Yeah, of
I've
course,
probably
yeah.
I've got to commit to, a certain number of these things, and there's the development, and that's all to be discussed. Exactly how much it's going to cost, but I need to commit big time to it.
Huh.
So it'll be a proper professional mainstream product.
So are you,
as people are used to?
I'm loath to ask, but are you going to take on outside investment? Talking about startups.
Nope.
Okay.
Like when it gets towards the end, I might do the crowdfunding thing just as a pre-sales kind of thing. But no, this will be my risk. This will be my risk up front.
That's good. That's good.
Yep. Anyway,
well,
hopefully I'll
that'll be-
have stories to tell over the coming year about this sort of thing. But yeah.
Good.
But, I can tell you, I gave them some specs, right? They're very top level kind of stuff. And they came back with this proposal. I'm going, like some aspects of them going, that just doesn't make sense. Like why have you specified that? Like that's just, it just doesn't
so now
make
you're going to be
sense.
like the micromanager and like, I'll just do it myself.
Right, yeah, something like that. So
Yeah.
I've got to steer it, because if I just said that's fine, and they went off, it'd be a disaster of a product. It'd be awful.
Yeah.
So I've got to rein it in and go, hey, no, that's just silly. We can't go down that path. We can't use that type of thing.
Thing.
No, thing.
That thing.
That thing.
That widget. That color of widget. That doohickey
there'll
that
be
goes
a
on the thing.
ton of compromises, because people expect this product because it's come from me, and I've got such a and so many opinions about these sort of things. And they'll expect it to be perfect, and it won't be. that's the shitty thing. There's always compromises,
Yeah. It's product design, right? I mean, like, and that's the thing. I think a lot of the engineering side of things too. We're always, well, not always, but some of that stuff gets shielded, right? In a good organization, that stuff gets shielded, because marketing groups will ask for the moon in hoping that they'll get some portion of it, right? And a lot of time managers will push that off.
Sometimes you have to produce the moon for them, even though it's absolutely ridiculous and it's going to kill the product. It might get it to market, but it might be a complete joke because you included the moon.
Right,
and it might be a complete failure, but that's what you were tasked with doing, and yeah. The perils of being a design engineer. I've done it before.
You don't want to like have you don't want your product to fail in the market, but nobody wants their product to fail in the market. But if you're just doing what you were asked, and sometimes then that is the downfall. And if there's
And I've worked at companies like that, and we've discussed it before, I'm sure, where I've been working on a product, and I'm going, this is stupid. This is the dumbest idea ever. It's never going to work. And of course it doesn't work, and you try and tell them and they go, shut up, do it or leave. And
well, you do say that kind of more often than you probably should, though. You do say things won't work very often. So there is a balance point there, I think.
Yeah, and sure enough, you're right, and it's as plain as day to anyone who has any clue. But of course, management often don't have a clue. They got, their head in the clouds, and what can you do, right?
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
It's a job. So you go, okay, well, yeah, fine. You try and score little wins. They're the kind of stuff that makes it interesting. Sometimes you can go, look, you really argue for something. Look, we really should put this in here, and it's just, and they finally agree to it, and you go, yes, small little win. Even though their product overall is going to completely fail, at least you knew that you put
Extra
in something
resistor,
that would be good.
That was me.
Exactly. That's right.
9.1K instead of a 10K. I showed you bastards. So actually, we had a question on Twitter about Sam asked about project worthiness, and he said, when's it worth taking a project to the next level? And I think that's an interesting question in terms of you, because
which level, from what level to what level are we talking about?
He said from napkin to bench to prototype to macrofab to Kickstarter to big money, and I think that's actually an interesting question because a lot of times, like a lot of the hardware stuff that I've worked on in the past always has these big gate reviews, and there's always the marketers have these big pile of requirements, and the engineers say, well, here's where we are with this, and there's like a formalized process around it, and usually it's a lot of dog and pony show, but there probably is some actual, it's all based probably around good theory. So the question is, do you plan to do that kind of thing with your product, and have you seen it work or not work?
Yeah, this is a difficult question. The reasons for going to the next level, it's going to vary totally. Depends on who you are and what your goals are. Is your goal to form a company, as a lot of people coming out, a lot of kids coming out, I want to have my own company. It doesn't matter. Let's just brainstorm a product idea and run with it, because the whole goal is to do a startup, and maybe get rich, like
fail fast.
Or is your goal, like I'm so passionate about, this particular topic, and I'm going to develop this product, and I don't care if anyone buys it. I just want to do this, because it's my passion. Or is your goal
glory
to, start some sort of, not the startup culture, but I just want to have a nice range of test gear or something. So I'm going to develop some nice test gear and form a company to do it, and blah, 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 and like, when you actually care about the product, but so there's lots of, I don't know, which camp do you want to discuss?
I don't know. I mean, I think these days it's like of the things he listed, he said napkin to bench to prototype to macrofab to Kickstarter, right? So macrofab we had on last week. I mean, I think so much of that stuff is cheap these days, and even Kickstarter, you can
I'll tell you
throw
what,
it out there.
If you're going to macrofab, you don't need your Kickstarter. Why do you need your Kickstarter?
Yeah.
You've already got,
you need it
unless
for a prototype, maybe.
you
can build yourself.
You need it. what you need Kickstarter for is for the publicity, right? It's a publicity machine, right?
Yeah.
You don't need it because you need the money. When you're going to Macrofab, you can whack out your prototypes for, like a few $100s, and you've got yourself, you've finished working sort of, prototypes. Like anyone who can't cough up that sort of money themselves shouldn't be doing it, right?
Yeah, and you're probably not in electronics anyways, to be honest. I mean, like, a lot of the struggles with people getting started in electronics anyways, it's like, I don't know, $500 minimum to get started,
This is what pisses me off, people who do a Kickstarter and they haven't produced a prototype, they go to Indiegogo because they haven't produced a prototype. It's like, why haven't you? Why haven't you, because they want the Indiegogo money to produce the prototype. It's no, piss off. Go and spend your own money and produce the prototype. And
make
then
it out of cardboard
go,
if you need to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That just pisses me off every time. I get angry at people who do that. It's just, God.
Yep. No,
especially hardware that is, you can spend a little bit of money and get prototypes. The world we live in now, you can get your $5 prototype PCBs. You can buy parts in one-off from DigiKey. Any part you can possibly imagine. It's possible to build low-cost prototypes, right?
Yeah, and your prototype might be $300, but you might be a $30, end product board.
Yeah,
at least, right?
exactly. And then that's when you go to the next level.
Yeah.
So if he's talking about going to the macro fab thing, then
I think
you're
he was
already
just
there.
asking generally, but yeah.
Jeez,
I don't know. I think about a lot of this stuff though too, like so much more of it, like the stuff that we talk about, like the stuff that we talk about electronics wise, like that's not a company. Like a piece of a PCB is not a company. It's not a product. It's maybe a project that other people want to buy, and it can be bigger. Right, but there's a lot of other crap in there. There's all the other, case and packaging and marketing BS that's in there, and I think that's the real question: is do you want to deal because I think that if you look at other people that have done this, you don't do electronics most of the time, right? I mean, I think this is the struggle that a lot of this stuff is like if you want to be an electronics person, go be an electronics person, right? Go be a consultant, go hire yourself out, start finding clients, and then find the hardware startups that have no clue what they're doing and tell them what to do for lots of money.
Right.
Like that's what you're going to be doing if you want to do electronics, I think. And the whole lots of money might not show up, that depends how good you are and how many people you know, but I think that's the decision you have to make is, are you willing to never work on electronics again? If you really want to start a company and do that stupid startup stuff and
right,
I've talked about it too. I'm working myself
you
up
end up becoming a business person, and I'm already like a business person. That's what I'm doing. I hardly do any electronics design. It's all just the business side.
That's
of things.
right, folks. You never thought you'd see it. Chris does more electronics design than Dave does, and
no surprise there.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, because you're in the business of teaching it. That's a different thing. Whereas I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm not running a course. You've got to practically demonstrate it. That's forcing you. That's forcing you. If you weren't doing that, would you be working on designs?
Probably not. Nope.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, unless I went back into industry and get a job, right? I mean,
exactly.
I think that. Yeah, otherwise, I mean...
You would have the odd hobby project on the side, right, which you dabble in every now and then, but, you'd end up like me, yeah.
Oh, no, I think that's probably the best part about contextual electronics starting back up is that it's just about having, like, an end goal in mind. Like, even though the project we're working on is silly, like, it's just having a project in mind
pointless.
So important. Like, you need to work towards something, and then all of the... I think... I don't know, like, I think that could be, I think that's good for, like, and, like, so, like, Hackaday Prize, stuff like that. Like, one of the hard parts about it, like, it's good that there's, like, a theme, more of a theme this year of, like, fix the world, and then there's that list that we talked about a couple weeks ago of, things that you could do, and you could pick one of those out. But, like, even still, you need to have a thing, like, the idea you're working towards, because then you start... Like, because then it becomes a problem of constraints, right? And this is a problem that I run into all the time when you don't have, like, monetary constraints, when you have like soft constraints, it's actually much harder to find parts and to like make engineering decisions when you don't have like someone else setting the constraints for you, right?
Yeah,
the product
exactly.
must cost $20. It must fit in, you know, like a 10 square centimeters. It must use less than, you know, 30 milliamps quiescent. Like all, I guess that's a lot, but all of these things, you know, like they, you know, like these are what define your decisions as you step through the project. Then you go back and you compare against. And if you don't have those at the beginning, you're like, I guess it can be, you know, it could use an amp in a resting state.
Designers are much more efficient when they have focused, fixed goals. They're much more efficient. We've talked about it on here before. You know, like, we need this product finished before the trade show on X date. And it's like you get it done with 10 minutes to spare. You finish it as the trade show doors are open. Yeah. And how do we do that? It's because, well, engineers are very good and very efficient when they're focused like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you're just running your own hobby project, that's, you know, there's zero focus like that.
Yeah.
And back to the question you asked with the product I'm developing, you know, the goal, the why am I doing it kind of thing. Is that what you asked?
Yeah, yeah, I think so, yeah.
Well, there's several reasons here. One, I've always wanted a product with my face on it, right?
One of these things.
Right, yeah. I've always wanted, you know, my own, right? I've always wanted. So that's, you know.
It's a legacy, that's a legacy thing, right? That's a...
well, no, it's just a, you know, a fantasy since I was a kid, right? Maybe ego. I don't know. It's just, you know, I just think it's
okay.
cool.
Hey, I think ego's okay, man. Like, honestly,
it is totally, right? But that's not the right word. It's just, I think it's cool and I want one. Right, I want my own that I specified.
So it's a scratch your own itch kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe
with your face on it. You want to scratch your own itch with your face.
That's it. Anyway, so there's that aspect to it, and there's the business side of things. Like, I know I can't always rely on the advertising income, so I want to, you know, get more. I want to develop more products that I can sell. Right, so that I have a second income stream there apart from the ad revenue, which is basically the only place. Well, apart from the microcurrent, right? If you said I didn't have the microcurrent, all of my revenue comes from advertising, all of it. Right, that's how I feed my family, you know, and that's subject to the whims of advertisers, right? And so I want to, you know, expand on that. So, you know, I've got the microcurrent, but you know, with the new employer, I want him to start designing some products that have been on my back burner because I've been too, you know, haven't had the time or the, you know, inclination to go ahead and finish them off. So, you know, that's part of his job. And this is just another thing. Yeah, it'll be another unique thing that I can have in my, you know, portfolio of products I can sell. You know, because I don't want to just, like, I've got the audience to, like, set up a shop, and I could probably do quite well, right? And just, like, reselling stuff. Right, be like an Adafruit kind of reseller, right? You know, small fry kind of reseller. I could do that, but I don't. That doesn't interest me. I don't want to do that.
I mean, like the thing they do, the Spark Funds and the Adafruits, they think they do really well is the supporting content. And I'm guessing that's actually the interesting stuff. Maybe the manufacturing side that they do as well. But like the actual being like a sales
logistics
channel
and the information channel behind all that. But I just don't want to become yet another.
But like being like a fulfillment house is boring. That's really boring.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I just
even if you're good at
it,
it's
so I could start a company, right? If I had any sort of, you know, business nous, right, I'd capitalize on my success, right, with my large audience and go high, you know, go actually put some decent money behind it, maybe even get some investment and go form a, you know, probably not investment, but I would spend my own money, right? I would, or borrow some money, and I'd go start up a business with, you know, a good chance of it, you know, a distribution business or whatever, with a good chance of being successful. I'd hire someone to manage it and all that sort of stuff, and just, you know, take an income stream off that. But I don't want to do that. That's just, like, that just doesn't interest me in the least. So, you know, if I'm gonna have a shop, which I do, right, have one product, I want to sell products that are unique to me, right? I just don't want to resell stuff.
I think that's probably the only way forward. And I think that's part of what's adding to a lot of my like feelings these days too, right? Because everything feels like it's the same. Everything's like a rebadge of things. You know, you see like all of these media sources shutting down. You see these companies shutting down just because the internet allows for basically one winner in each space, right? There is one Amazon, there is one Google, there is one EEV blog. And like because of that, like you kind of have to have that, you have to be that one thing, you know, and just be really good at that one thing, I think.
And
However
also
you
the
define it.
distribution is a race to the bottom. You know, you've got to compete.
Yeah, that stuff sucks.
You know, you've got to
Right.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's crazy. Okay, I make my 10% on this sale. You know, whoop-de-doo. Well, another guy comes along, he sells it, he's happy with
Yeah.
a 5% margin. You're screwed. You know, everyone's going to buy from there. And it's just cutthroat race to the bottom. You know, but
and we see
your
this
spark funds
in-
and your Artifruits can be successful, and, you know, there's other
Well, because of that
players
other
out
stuff
there.
they do. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I mean,
and
we
they
see
got
this
it.
too
Yeah, it's the
in-
other stuff they do. They value add and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, we see this in the chip industry though too, right? I mean, so like all of these chip companies are all buying each other just because that same thing. Like there's less and less margin for each chip because they keep, you know, everybody says, well, we got to make more stuff next year because the industry keeps getting bigger and we'll sell more and we'll keep making more money. And everybody does that, but then eventually the small guys can't compete and the big guys eat the little guys. And now, you know, I don't know how many chip companies we have left, but it doesn't. Sure as hell doesn't feel like many. You know,
no,
like
I know. They're just merging like this. You know, I didn't
Yeah.
think there were that many, that these mergers
Right.
keep happening. Go, oh, yeah, right. I completely forgot about them. Okay, they're merging. Right.
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like...
So I'm in the midst of picking out a microcontroller as well, like just for my latest project, and it it feels
is
like
it
it shouldn't
ARM,
be.
ARM, or is it an 8-bitter?
No, it's gonna be bigger than that. I mean, at least 32-bit, but
Oh, right. But you
but,
don't know
like-
whether or not you're even going to go for ARM.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, like, but it feels like at the same time there's so much choice and there's no choice, right? It's like you look at all these things and you're like, these all look the same to me. You know, like how can
Yeah,
you really
yeah.
compare
I
all
know,
of
it's
these
just-
different
yeah.
platforms? And honestly,
Crazy.
what I'm looking at is actually the usability side of things, right? That's kind of where the differentiation point for me is like, so I started looking at Mbed and I started looking at all the different compilers and the different IDs that are out there, you know, because I also don't want to just use Arduino. Like I want to try something different. I want to actually, you know, be coding in C, stuff like that, stuff that's still challenging, but, you know, like how do you go, like how do you decide on a micro? I think that we've talked about on the show before. Most people, when they pick a micro, they're like, well, what did I use last time?
Well, it's either what did I use last time because I'm familiar with the tools, or in a lot of my
Yeah.
case, it'll come down to component cost, okay, versus features. Okay, which
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Like just in my micro supply project, I've actually swapped back and forth between Pick and Atmel several times, right?
Oh, really?
Because I go, oh, okay, this one needs X. You know, I want to get my price. You know, I want to get my costs down, but the Atmel one, it's just like a general purpose one. Oh, look, Microchip have this really nice targeted one that just has the features I want, and it's 50 cents cheaper. You know, so I'll switch back. You know, just because of
right.
that.
And there's
Right?
a
And-
huge switching cost, and this is all before you go to the market, right? I mean, is your supply out? No. Yes. No. No.
No,
It's not out?
No.
Right. So
it's
if
not
you
even
did,
close to being
if you,
finished.
I mean, once you're in the market though, then it's like then you're done, right? So you're also trying
Right,
to
yeah,
pick
yeah,
something
of
that,
course.
like when
Yep.
you're 5 years down the road, you can't switch it, right? Because there's
Right.
tons in the field. You got to
Yeah.
support everything. You know, it's like
Of
that
course,
is your
of course.
that is
Yeah,
your
you're locked in.
child in the marketplace.
Yep.
You don't get to swap again. Yeah. And actually, so there was an article in, I think it was Jack Ansell's newsletter about, so I like I said, I mentioned Mbed. Like I was looking at that because that's interesting and it's
Right.
kind of, there's a lot of people interested in doing that stuff right now. But that's an online compiler, right? And then
Right.
like you think about like long-term support there too. And this is what the people wrote about. It's like, you can't count on it, right? Like
No,
all you
that's
can really
right.
count on,
Totally.
you can count on GCC, right? And you can count
Right,
on
yeah,
like,
of course.
you know, like something that's been
the
around for
file's
20
always
years.
going to be there. I can still
Yeah.
download the compiler for my source code from 25 years ago, right? For some program
Yeah,
I wrote,
right.
right? I can just download
Right,
it
right.
and run it, and it recompiles. No problem.
Right. But that's
Right?
never going to go on an ARM, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
like all
right.
of these
No,
things,
no,
like
that's right.
these are the trade-offs we have to make these days. Like you're never going to be able to make that different. That like if you want something that's leading edge, I mean, this happens in components as well, right? You get a component like a new A to D or even like a micro with A to D and a Bluetooth chip and everything like that. They have footprints that are just like it's just them, like TI owns that footprint or Microchip owns that footprint type, right? There is
Right.
no drop-in replacement because no one's literally allowed to use that footprint, right? And it's like, yeah, you pick and you got to go, like that's why like all this, it feels like it's getting easier, but at the same time, it feels like it's not, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot more loaded into single decisions instead of a lot of small decisions. It's like a couple big decisions. And
Got it.
it sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
Should we get onto like a list? People complained last time that we didn't cover
They
anything
did.
on the
Now,
list.
Calm down, folks. Calm down. How
know.
many? 244 episodes? You can go back and listen to one or two. I know we talked about Arduino way too long. Blame Dave.
Yep, we did, and I wasn't the least bit coherent, and yep,
Whatever.
yeah.
One thing,
Exactly.
I actually got to see another mill. So we've talked about a lot about the board etching stuff like that in the past. So I was at a talk that Mike SD from Other Mill gave, and I actually got to see one operating and stuff like that. And that's a pretty cool little piece of equipment. So
This is the PCB at milling.
milling machine, yeah.
Yep,
So,
yep.
and actually the thing again, kind of talking about the workflow stuff there, that is actually where I think they are doing the best, like because that's the hardest part, right? Like being able to snap something on and not go and like I have a milling machine, right? And I've never used
Right.
it for milling PCBs because
Yep.
the workflow. I've tried it once.
Yeah, the workflow's awful. Yeah,
The
exactly.
workflow's awful, yeah, and like
Yeah.
that's where that's
You
fantastic.
could do it if you had to,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
just to get it working would be,
Yeah.
yep.
The other
Nightmare.
one that I'm excited about with that, and I think that might even beat out the other mill, but it's not out yet, is the Carbide 3D, which I think we've mentioned on here before.
Right.
But I haven't seen them yet, so I've only seen it at trade shows, so we'll see.
But once again, as I said before, this is a technology which is a niche thing
Yeah,
because they're,
yeah.
prototype PCBs are so cheap and high
Cheap,
quality.
right,
It's
right.
just insane to try and
Yep.
compete with that with a do-it-yourself.
Yeah.
thing.
Well, and I mean, I don't know about your workflow, but like, especially when you're doing like prototyping. So the way that we're doing contextual electronics is like we do little boards, but like while one little board is out at fab, we're building another one, and then while that like we're always in
right.
just kind of a cycle. Like you're always doing that anyways. So,
Sometimes I'll do that, but often I want it
Yeah.
now, so I'm going to hack it together on some sort of proto board. So
Oh,
I'm going to,
yeah, that's true.
dead bug style or point to point. or
yeah,
whatever.
right,
So,
right, right.
yeah.
And I mean, there's some stuff that you can't do direct onto copper like that, but then you can get like those. If you have a pile of little breakout boards, or if you buy them or you make them, and then you just have them on hand for soldering that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
you can
I do
a
that
lot of
as well.
stuff.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'll just do it on a breadboard, because I've got
Right.
some little SO adapters, so I'll whack them
Right.
on there and yeah.
Right, and if people say, oh well, you can't do it for super high speed, but it's like you can't go point to point with a lot of high speed stuff anyways, just because of the the rise times and stuff like that. You'll start to have noise issues and weird stuff happening like that. So you can't really do that anyways. So you're stuck with making a board, and if it's small enough, you're not going to be using one of those board cutters anyways. So you're kind of screwed either way.
And often I just want to prototype a part of the circuit. I don't want to prototype the whole thing. Because
Yeah,
right. I'm just concerned about one little part, whether or not I'm going to have to tweak it, whether or not it's going to work properly, it's going to be stable or whatever. So I'll breadboard that up and just play around with that, or I'll hack it and prototype it together, play around with that. I don't want to lay out a board to do that.
Yeah.
What a pain in the ass, right? I want to lay out a board for my finished product, or have a shot at
Yeah,
my finished
right.
product, right? Even though I'm probably not going to get it first go, at least want to have a shot. But I don't want to experiment with something that I'm not sure about. So I'll build up that little part and just hack it together any way I can, just to get some confidence. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's about getting to the point where you feel like you should spend the time on a layout and do it right at
Yep,
that point.
yep.
That you're that you can get the parts and that they'll work and stuff like that. Yeah, that's fun.
So it's not often that I'll lay out a board just to test a little aspect of a circuit I wanted to do. Usually it's just hacking.
Yeah.
So
Well, and a lot of the time these days too. I mean, like so many of the dev kits that are out there, like so many of those, like in a part family, there might be 10 parts in a family, and there's only one part that has a dev board, but so much of the functionality you can get just from that one dev board, and then, change the footprint or whatever you need to in order to get your application, your application thing.
Play, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's what we do.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about Art of Electronics. You have an Art of Electronics 3.
I have Art of Electronics. I have not read it yet, folks. Okay. So sorry, I can't comment on it.
I have not got it yet. I haven't even ordered it yet. I probably will be shunned
seriously,
for not.
If you like the second one, get the third one. Like, it's a no-brainer. Just go get it, right?
How much is different? I mean, that's the part I don't
I don't know yet. I've got to go through. I've got to spend hours and hours, days and days, probably like flicking through, knowing what's changed and what hasn't.
Yeah.
Yes, they've left some chapters out that are in. Were in the second one, not in the third.
We talked about that, right? You said Win had posted about some of the stuff that's different, but.
And he's and the X chapters hasn't come out yet. There's some complaints that in the book it says, "Oh, go see the X chapters book for more details." These X chapters are supposed to be like more. They treat it more in depth. No, it treats a subject more in depth, right? Because the Art of Electronics is not an in-depth book.
No,
right? If you're after in-depth theory, it's the wrong book for you. Right? If you're doing an in-depth theory course on op amps, it is not on the internal architecture of op amps. It is not the book for you, right? It is a high-level practical kind of book that covers things in practical high-level detail. It's
about
not
getting
a theory
the feel and like the. Getting like the mental models that you need. That's what it's really good about.
Yes, that's right. So it's if you're doing a hardcore engineering course and you think this is the textbook for you, no, it's not. Right. I mean, get the textbook that they subscribe. Is it Serrata and Smith, or is it whoever? What are the other common ones? They go into much more detail.
Oh, so you're saying if you want like the math, like the heavy math
and
stuff.
The theory and the and the plots and. And everything else, it's
there's a range of books out there. I posted actually a picture of my bookshelf for someone earlier today on Twitter.
Oh, right.
But just kind of like I thought it was fun actually. Maybe people could do this as well. Just kind of because it's nice to see what like other people have posted theirs as well, just to see what other people have, because it's like, oh shit, I want to have that one, like kind of just looking up titles and like looking at my own shelf, even like some of them are really practical ones, like Art of Electronics and that Dobkin and Jim Williams one, the analog circuit design, which was a refactoring of a lot of like app notes, stuff like that. But then like I've got some DSP books on there that are just like math.
Exactly, because you had to buy them as part of your course. There's lots of ones I had to buy as part of the course, because that's what they, it's hard to do the course without getting the prescribed textbook, and it's just awful. It's a book I never go back and reference, because it was just it was just so horribly awful into the in-depth theory and just didn't explain things the way I wanted them explained, and or I felt comfortable with, or whatever. So
but we're practical. We're practical electronics people, whereas some people are.
Yep.
They're the theory. Math people.
No, if you're into IC circuit design or something, the Art of Electronics is useless to you, it just isn't the book for you. If you're into, really, discrete, audio op amp, or discrete transistor RF design or something, something really heavy duty, it's just not the book for you. It's
But the nice thing is there's a crap ton of books out there that could be, and that's what this could be good for, is sharing bookshelves, is that's what
so
that stuff's good
everyone's got their favorite book for everything. But the Art of Electronics, I like it as a go-to thing, because I haven't, if there's something like a practical circuit that I might vaguely remember from when I studied it 25 years ago, right? I'll vaguely remember it and go, but I have no idea, right? My memory's not that great, right? So I just go grab the Art of Electronics, and sure enough, it's in there, and how to practically implement it. And I go, yep, good enough. That's what I need.
Yeah, that'll get you far enough that you can pop it into Spice and see enough that you feel confident to go stick it on a board, and then
I don't care about the in-depth theory of how the Miller capacitance works here and here, because
you're not. you're not writing the spice engine, you're using it, right? I mean, like that, and that's the
Right.
difference, right? If you're, if you're at the research level, then you might want to go do that kind of thing. And
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it's where you are in the chain, I think.
Yes. So there you go. But yeah.
So I got to go order that book for sure.
I think
3.
everyone should, like, if you don't have The Art of Electronics, I mean, I think it should be on your bookshelf. It should be on any practical electronics engineer's
and it's pricey.
bookshelf.
Like people are talking
Oh,
like
it's
on
not
Twitter.
cheap, but
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
$120. Like, but like that's an investment, right? This
of
is a book
course,
that'll
of
stick
course.
with you for a long time. So
yes, and
I
you'll keep
I
it
wouldn't worry
for
about that.
the old one. You kept it for 25 years,
Yep.
or 30 years since it came. What is it? 25 years since the last one came out.
Oh.
1989 was the
Jeez,
last
yeah.
one.
It's like 25, yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And the
Time
old one is
flies.
still relevant. Second edition is still relevant.
Hey, that got me my first job back into electronics. So
Right. It's funny. I just retweeted something this morning. Somebody posted a photo of The Art of Electronics, saying it's already out of date by the time it was published. They showed a photo of it actually says where to go to get parts. Tandy Electronics.
oh, sad.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, Radio
I love
Shack. We don't really miss you. I saw there was an article about how they're supposed to be rebranding as a convenience store. Radio Shack, that is. I don't know if is Tandy's gone, right? Like they're Tandy's no more
Yes.
in Australia.
Well,
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this
Well,
is like
Tandy. No, I don't know if there might still be a couple of Tandy stores around selling mobile phones or something. I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
yeah. That's but like apparently the ones that still exist, the Radio Shacks, are being reimagined as convenience stores. So you could just go in and, pick up a charger off the wall. I don't know. I'm imagining like
what's the difference? That's what
big-
Radio Shack always
I know.
was.
I'm
The
imagining
electronics
like
convenience store.
a bank of like like vending machines. Like that's what I'm imagining, but I don't think that's what it really
okay.
would be.
So yeah, but they've always had pretty clueless people in there. So what's the difference between a clueless person or a machine? That one of those Japanese vending machines that dispenses
Right.
anything.
Right.
Arduinos, yay! Here we go. Pop
Well,
out
there's
an
a lot of
Arduino.
those out there now. You can get. A lot of the hacker spaces have those too. They'll just buy an old vending machine and put like Raspberry Pis in there and stuff like that.
What?
Of course.
Really?
Oh yeah, like my buddy bought a Raspberry Pi out of the NYC resistor vending machine.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's hilarious.
It's hard to find that many $5.
Right.
It only had a $5 bill, ones and
Right.
fives. So
Okay.
finding that many $5 bill things was kind of tough. But
That's neat. I like it.
oh yeah, I mean that could work someplace. Like there's Best Buy has that now too, right? It's not like you need a lot of customer interaction or like retail interaction to do that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, but what's the difference? What's the difference? Why don't you just order it online? Sure, you can go pick it up straight away, but Jesus, it's a limited market.
Well, that's the idea. That's the idea, and I think that's what they're talking about for Radio Shack too. Is like the convenience side of it.
Right? Yeah. Well, hence the name, convenience store.
Right. Of course.
Because it's just there. But but don't Amazon ship in like 6 hours now or something, same day?
Not yet, but they're getting there. It depends what city you're in.
Right.
Like Cleveland doesn't
You're
have
right,
any
yeah,
of that
yeah.
stuff,
Okay.
so it's still got to go through a center. But
Got
yeah, I think that's kind of I think that's a lot of the kind of the balance point for a lot of the technology we have these days too. Like, so we were talking about the the board cutter and stuff like that, 3D printing, things like that. Like all of these things are basically, because there's 3D printing services too. You can go to Shapeways and order something, and they'll send it to you in a couple days.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like and like laser cutting, all of these things.
Oh,
and it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
about
right.
are you willing to pay the capital investment for your own lab to have it immediately, and then have all the overhead of the tasks you need to have with it as well,
Right.
like cleaning and having milling it and mills on hand, and
and learn how to
filament
figure
on
out
hand.
how to use it and getting up to speed.
Right.
And, I haven't used it for a year.
I was going to ask, have you used your 3D printer in a long time?
I've used it fairly recently. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
cool.
yeah, I still know how it works.
Yeah.
But
There was actually-
there was one point where since I last used it, they'd completely changed the software, like completely, right?
Right,
and
right.
I downloaded because this machine didn't have it, right? So I downloaded
Yeah.
like, what? I got to go learn
What
this
am I
new
looking
software.
at?
Like, Jesus.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and
It's all
like,
too
and, I
hard.
mean, there's some practical use. Like, so like there was a Hackaday article about these was it pogo pins? Someone 3D printed pogo pins holders, right? Like that's an
Right.
awesome idea and something that you wouldn't. No one's going to injection mold that kind of thing. This is actually a really, really good use of a 3D printer. This isn't a case of like time. This is a case of like ingenuity. I think, right? That's interesting.
Well, it's a case of need, isn't it?
But
You needed something.
right? Yeah, and like, but again, you could have someone. You could design this and send it off to Shapeways, and they could send it back, and like it is possible to do this kind. And actually, you don't have to do Shapeways these days. There's actually a I forget what it's called. There's a service you can do where like you can see who the closest 3D printer is to you, and then they list the price,
right.
and then you can like send it to them. And it's just like at someone's house. It's just an unused. It's like an Airbnb for 3D printers.
Right.
Dumb. Startups, huh? But yeah,
I see this little 3D printed pogo pin thing. It's like a test holder. It's like a test pin
it's a
holder.
jig.
Right.
Yeah, it's a jig.
Yeah, it's a jig.
But
They've actually
it's
gone to
cool.
a lot of effort. There's a lot of separate parts on that.
Yeah.
That
This
seems
is a great-
almost
this is a
too
great hack.
complicated for what it's,
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is.
It
but
depends
this is.
how proficient you are with the 3D tools and things like. I am not
Oh,
proficient,
yeah.
right? So it's a pain in the ass for me, right? But
Right.
my employee Dave too, he's very proficient at it, right? So he can
Yeah.
just do something and then whack it on the 3D printer. Bam, there it is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and if
So,
you get good with
yeah.
like my buddy Marty is really good with a lot of tools like this, and he'll just do just a board holder and stuff like that. He was just doing fixtures for his bench, and like that actually is another really good use of it. He showed me a couple of the holders where it's just just for like work holding and when you're soldering in weird positions, or if you need to have card slots, that kind of weird thing. That was another really good use, I thought.
Right.
And so I mean, like that's how it goes, right? You find uses over time because it's kind of like a cognitive excess of, well, what do I use this thing for? And it's like, oh, well, I have a problem and I could throw a 3D printer at it, and this finally makes sense. So,
I see. Even if I had the 3D skills, I wouldn't have bothered with that. I would have just got the pogo pin board, thrown it in the pan of ice, and then just set the right angle and put it down, and maybe prop it up with a book or something, or some sort of hack like that.
But that's for one. If you were doing 10, right? There's
if
always
you're
a
doing
crossover
10,
point.
right? Yeah. There's definitely a crossover point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it becomes when it's not DFM, right? If it's not designed for DFM,
Right. Yes.
then you have to figure something else out. I mean, you used to do that all the time, anyways, with your.
Oh
you
yeah,
used to
that
make
was
fixtures.
big. That was a big part of my job, designing test jigs and all sorts of stuff for production. Yeah, and you'd put a lot of work into it, because some of them were very complex and technical, and because you had to run 10,000 boards through, so it's important to have it right.
Yeah. Well, we're at the end of the show because we need to cut it short this week. Not short, but, actually an hour. Things I would love to hear in the comments this week. One, obviously, I'm feeling a bit of ennui this week. I'm feeling a little down about the electronics industry, so I'd love to hear what people are excited about. Like, maybe I should be excited about something and I don't even know it yet. That would be great. And then other things for me are, I'd love to know what people are using micro-wise. I think that would actually really help me out because... like I said, there's so many.
I don't think it will.
No, I know it'll be everybody saying something like I use this, I use that. But even if you just point me to resources, I don't care. I'll read everything.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So instead of just picking one and getting on with business, you're going to dick around just reading everyone, reading everything for the next month.
I'm not on that. I'm not on that board yet. So
yeah.
I mean, but that's a big deal, right? That's a big decision point. Micros, like, is better or worse. That's a big part of any project these days. So. That's Dave, do you want them to say anything to you in the comments? I think we should do this, too. Like, prompt them instead of, no, you didn't tell us anything this week.
People will call me idiot for losing my stuffs again. Go ahead. I don't care.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody suggested should we do an AMA with episodes, with answers as an episode?
Yeah, we can. I mean, we've 244 episodes in. You've heard a lot of our stories, but yeah, you got questions. So here's the thing. you can always ask these questions on the subreddit like that. Just do a text post there. Just hit submit. Submit a new text post to the Amp Hour subreddit.
so that we never get around to it.
Right. Well, but if that doesn't work, there is an email button on theampower.com. That goes to both of us. So shoot it, and I'll actually post it to the subreddit. So
see, this is something someone complained about the other week, and that apparently we used to do shows where we went through the list a bit more religiously.
Yeah,
we went through the list. We did an episode based on a list, and whereas now we sort of take a more laissez-faire approach. And
we should go look at the old list because the old list was like 6 items, and we had to talk about everything.
Right.
We talked about the list because that's all there was. It wasn't public, and also I was thinking about the other day because of this Y Combinator thing. They have the Hacker News. It's like Reddit. Remember when we used to have that list and it used to always crash? And do you remember that thing? No?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it used to be like our subreddit was.
Right.
The good old days.
Yeah, good old days. Jeez.
Yeah.
When I was a boy.
Yep. All right, man. Well, I can't wait to hear more about your Dave as a manager project. This is very exciting for me.
It's just another product that's been designed and made by
Peter.
a big company.
How's it? What's happening? Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to take a long time.
Talk about your TPS reports.
Yeah, right. Boy,
that's what I'm mostly excited about. I'm mostly excited about making Office Space jokes. So.
Yeah. Office. I love Office Space. I'm gonna have to go watch it again.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't watched it for a while. And yeah, because I used to be in that sort of. Yep. When you work for the man, you'll really appreciate Office Space. Yeah, it's great.
All right, man. All right, the man. We'll talk to you next week.
Cool. Bye.
This week on the Amp Hour, Dave plays the man. Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi. Hi, Peter. Yeah, we're starting at the normal time today, at 9 o'clock. It's not a half day or anything.